He didn't live near the road. He lived where the road stopped mattering. Silver Pass. Late winter. The kind that didn't end cleanly. Ice breaking under its own weight. Snow turning heavy. Dangerous. Men didn't come this far unless they had no other choice. So when Caleb Rourke found her, 40 yards below his trap line, he knew something was wrong. Not because she was dying, because she wasn't supposed to be there at all. No horse, no pack, no sign of a camp, just one broken trail behind her, half covered in slush and refrozen snow, like she had been running until her body refused to go any further. She was curled against the base of a pine, still breathing, barely. Dark hair tangled with frost, skin too pale against the cold. Asian, mid-20s, maybe younger, maybe not. Hard to tell when someone had been pushed that close to the edge. Caleb stood there longer than he should have, not hesitating, calculating, because nothing about this made sense, and things that didn't make sense usually came with consequences. Then he saw her hand, clenched tight against her coat, even now, even like this. He crouched down, pulled the fabric back carefully. Paper, not folded neat, not protected, gripped, like the only thing she hadn't let go of. Records, columns, numbers, names. Not something a woman dragged across a mountain pass for no reason. Caleb exhaled slowly, looked out across the ridge. Wind moving low through the trees, ice shifting somewhere beneath the snowpack. Nothing else. No movement. No riders. That didn't mean they weren't coming. He should have left her. Any man who had lived this long out here would have. Because this wasn't weather trouble. This was people trouble. And people trouble didn't end clean. He slid one arm beneath her shoulders, lifted her. She weighed less than he expected. That bothered him more than it should have. By the time he reached the shack, the cold had already worked its way into her bones. He kicked the door open, set her down near the fire. More wood, more heat, no wasted movement. Boots off, soaked through. Blankets, everything he had. He didn't think about it, didn't question it. He just did what needed doing. Water boiled slow in the kettle. The fire snapped higher. The room filled with heat that came too late for comfort, but maybe not too late for survival. It took nearly 2 hours before she moved. A shift in breath first, then her eyes opened. Dark, sharp, too aware for someone who had just come back from freezing. She didn't look at him right away. She looked at the ceiling, then the walls, then the door, mapping the room, measuring exits. Only then she looked at him. "You're safe," Caleb said. Pulled the blanket tighter instead, eyes still on him, not afraid. Suspicious. "Where is this?" she asked finally, voice rough, low, controlled. "Silver Pass," he said. "My place, about 2 miles off the trade trail." He poured water, set the cup within her reach. She took it, but didn't drink, still deciding. "How long?" she asked. "How long what?" "How long was I out there?" Caleb leaned back slightly. "Long enough." That answer stayed between them. She didn't push it, didn't react, just lowered her gaze briefly, like she already knew. "What's your name?" he asked. A moment passed, not hesitation. Selection. "Lin," she said, then after a beat, "Lin Dow." Given carefully, like something she was willing to risk, but not give freely. Caleb nodded once. Caleb Rourke. That was all. no more. The fire cracked between them. Outside, the mountain shifted under thawing ice. Inside, two strangers sat across from each other, both knowing this wasn't an accident. "Do you remember how you got here?" he asked. Lynn's fingers tightened slightly around the cup. Not much, but enough. A shadow moved across her expression. Quick, controlled, then gone. "I remember," she said, and nothing else. Caleb didn't press, didn't ask about the trail, didn't ask about the records, because he had already seen enough. Bruising along her collarbone, the way she watched the door, the way she held on to something even when she was freezing. "Anyone coming for you?" he asked instead. That mattered. That always mattered. Lynn looked at the fire, not at him. A long moment passed before she answered. "No." Quiet, certain, final. Caleb nodded. That kind of answer only came from someone who knew exactly what it meant. He stood, moved to the far side of the room, gave her space, not out of politeness, out of respect, because people like her, people who had learned to survive like that, didn't trust easily. Night settled in slow. The mountain went silent again. Wind moving low through the trees, ice cracking somewhere far off. The fire burned steady. 2 bedrolls, opposite ends of the room, distance kept, lines drawn, for now. It was her voice that broke the quiet, soft, from the edge of sleep. "Why?" Caleb didn't move. "Why what?" "Why bring me in?" He thought about it, not long, but long enough to answer it right. "Because you were there." A breath. "That's all?" Caleb looked toward the fire, flames shifting slow, steady. "No," he said, "because leaving you wasn't something I was going to do." Silence again, different this time. Outside, snow shifted, not wind, not ice. Something else. Caleb's eyes moved toward the door, just slightly. He didn't reach for his rifle, not yet. But he knew. Whatever had driven her across that mountain wasn't finished. And now, it knew exactly where to look. Morning didn't come with light. It came with silence. The kind that settles after something is shifted and hasn't settled yet. Caleb was awake before his eyes opened, listening. Fire low but alive, wood settling, wind moving slower than it had the night before. No voices, no movement outside. That was the first thing that bothered him. He sat up quietly, reached for his rifle out of habit, not fear, awareness. Lynn was already awake, sitting near the fire, wrapped in his heavier coat now, not the blanket. Her posture upright, not resting, watching, not him, the door. She didn't turn when he moved. "Did you hear it?" she asked, voice low, steady. Caleb paused. "What?" She hesitated, just slightly. "Nothing," she said. Then, after a breath, "Or maybe something that isn't there anymore." Caleb stood, crossed the room slowly, checked the latch. Still set. No marks on the wood. No forced entry. But something in the air felt different. He stepped outside. Cold hit fast, cleaner than the night before. Sky pale, thin light breaking across the ridge. Snow packed, surface crusted from the drop in temperature. Then he saw it. Tracks. Not his, not hers. Boot prints. 3 sets. Coming in from the lower slope, stopping just short of the shack. Caleb crouched, touched the edge of one. Recent. Within the hour. They hadn't knocked. Hadn't tried the door. Hadn't made noise. They had just stood there, watching. Caleb straightened slowly, eyes scanning the tree line. Nothing moved. No figures. No horses. But that didn't mean anything. It never did. He went back inside, closed the door behind him. Didn't rush, didn't show it. But Lynn saw it anyway. Of course she did. "What is it?" she asked. Caleb leaned his rifle near the wall, within reach. "3 men," he said. "They came up during the night." Her expression didn't break, didn't panic. It confirmed something instead. "They found me faster than I thought," she said quietly. Caleb watched her. "You were expecting them?" "Yes." That was the first honest line between them. Not careful, not measured, clear. "They didn't try the door," he said. "They won't," she replied. "Why not?" "Because they don't need to." That settled heavier than anything else. Caleb didn't ask what she meant. Not yet. Instead, "What's in the papers?" Her hand moved, almost unconsciously, toward where she had tucked them inside the coat, then stopped. "Enough," she said. "Enough what?" "To get someone killed." Caleb held her gaze, didn't push, didn't soften, just waited, letting her decide how much truth she could afford. She exhaled slowly. "They're freight records," she said. "Routes, weights, deliveries that don't match what's written." "Illegal cargo?" he asked. She shook her head slightly. "Worse." "Unregistered shipments. Bypassing checkpoints. Moving things that aren't supposed to exist on paper." Caleb understood enough. Not details, but consequences. "Who's running it?" She hesitated again, longer this time. Then, "Elias Varn." Caleb's expression didn't change, but something in his eyes did. He knew the name. Everyone near the pass did. Trader, freight broker, respected. Careful. Too careful. "What happened to your group?" Caleb asked. Lynn didn't look away this time. "They were told the axle broke," she said. "Middle of the pass. They left me with it." Not anger, not bitterness. Fact. Caleb nodded once. That told him everything. "They knew what you had." "Yes." "And they figured the mountain would finish it." "Yes." Silence settled again. Different now. Heavier. Caleb walked to the shelf, picked up a small tin, set it down again without opening it. Not thinking about the tin, thinking about the situation. 3 men outside last night. More likely coming. A name tied to something bigger than a single mistake. And a woman who had just placed all of it in his cabin. "You should have told me sooner," he said. Not accusing, just true. Lynn held his gaze. "I didn't know if you were the kind of man who'd turn me in." "And now?" A quiet beat. "Now I know you're not." That landed. Not heavy, but deep. Caleb looked toward the door again. Snow outside untouched now. Tracks already beginning to soften under thin sun. "They'll come back," he said. "Yes." "They'll bring more than 3. "Yes." He nodded once, decision settling in. Not rushed. Final. "We don't wait here." Lynn's eyes sharpened slightly. "You have somewhere else?" "No, but staying is worse." She studied him, not questioning the plan, measuring him. Then, a small nod. "All right." Caleb moved to gather his gear. Rope, ammunition, dry rations. Everything done without wasted motion. Lynn stood slowly, still not fully recovered, but steady. She crossed the room, stopped near him. Close enough now that distance didn't feel like a barrier anymore. "You understand what this is," she said quietly. Not a question, a warning. Caleb looked at her, then past her, toward the mountains beyond the wall. I do. You're not involved yet, she added. You can still walk away. Caleb didn't answer immediately, because that was the truth. He could. Still. Then he picked up his coat, slung the rifle across his shoulder. No, he said. I passed that point yesterday. Lynn held his gaze. Something shifted again, subtle, but real. Recognition. Not trust yet, but the beginning of it. Outside, the mountain stood quiet. Too quiet. The kind of quiet that didn't last. And somewhere beyond the ridge, men were already turning back, coming again. This time, they wouldn't just be watching. They left before the sun cleared the ridge, not because it was safer, because waiting made it worse. Caleb moved ahead, breaking trail where the snow still held firm enough to carry weight. Not the main path, not the trade route, a narrow line that cut along the ridge, then dropped into timber thick enough to hide movement. Lynn followed behind him, not close, not far, matching his pace without being told, learning him, the same way he was learning her. The mountain had changed overnight. What had been solid snow days ago was now uneven, unstable, ice beneath, slush above. Every step mattered, every sound carried, and every mistake stayed. They didn't speak for the first mile, didn't need to. The rhythm between them, step, breath, step, was enough. Caleb slowed near a break in the ridge, raised one hand slightly. Lynn stopped immediately. No question, no hesitation. He crouched, brushing aside a thin layer of crusted snow. Tracks. More than before. Not just 3. 5. Maybe 6. Boots. Heavier tread. Deliberate spacing. They split, Caleb said quietly. Some came early. Others followed. Lynn stepped closer, just enough to see. Her expression didn't change, but her breathing did, slightly deeper, controlled. They're tightening the search, she said. Yes. Caleb looked up along the ridgeline, trees thinning ahead, terrain opening toward the lower pass. Too exposed, too easy to be seen. We don't go that way, he said. He turned instead, cutting downslope into denser timber, harder ground, slower movement, but better cover. Lynn followed without question. By midday, the cold had shifted. Not warmer, just different. Snow softening, edges blurring, the mountain loosening its hold. That was when things started to move. A sound drifted through the trees, faint, distant. Voices. Caleb stopped again, listened. One voice, then another, closer than he wanted. They're pushing fast, Lynn whispered. They think we're still near the shack. Not for long. Caleb scanned the terrain, then saw it. A narrow drop between 2 rock shelves, leading into a frozen creek bed below. Steep, dangerous, but hidden. He pointed. We go down. Lynn looked once, measured it, then nodded. No argument. The descent wasn't clean. Boots slipping, hands grabbing rock, snow breaking loose beneath them. At one point, Lynn's footing gave. Just slightly, but enough. Caleb caught her arm before she dropped further. Held. Steady. For a second, they were close. Closer than before. Breath visible between them. Not strangers anymore. Not quite something else either. You all right? He asked. Yes. Her voice held, but her grip on his sleeve lingered half a second longer than it needed to. Then she let go. They kept moving. The creek bed gave them cover. Ice thick in places, broken in others, water moving slow beneath. Sound dampened, tracks harder to follow. Caleb moved faster now, pace increasing, decision made. "We head east," he said, "to the ranger post." Lynn frowned slightly. "There's one this far out?" "Old, not staffed year-round. But it has a line, if it still works." She understood. A way to send word, to get ahead of the men chasing them. A chance. They followed the creek for nearly an hour, until the terrain narrowed again and the air shifted. Caleb stopped. Something wasn't right. No voices now. No wind. Too quiet. Then, a sound behind them. Not distant this time. Close. Boot against ice. Caleb turned slowly, rifle already coming up. A figure stepped out from behind the rock shelf above, then another, then a third. Not 5, not 6, 3. The first ones. The ones who had already been close. They hadn't followed the trail. They had cut ahead, waiting. "Well now," one of them said, voice easy, too easy. "Didn't expect you to make it this far." Caleb didn't answer, didn't lower the rifle. Measured. The man's eyes shifted. To Lynn. Recognition. "There you are," he said. "Saved us a lot of walking." Lynn didn't move, didn't step back. She stood. "Drop the rifle," the man added, "or this gets messy." Caleb's grip tightened slightly, mind running through distance, angles, timing. 3 men, open ground, no cover. Bad position. He didn't lower it. "No," he said. Simple. Flat. The man smiled, like he had expected that. "Then I guess we do this the hard way." And just like that, the mountains stopped being a place to cross. It became a place to fight. And this time, there was nowhere left to run. For a second, nothing moved. 3 men across the ice, 1 narrow creek bed, no cover worth trusting. Distance, 20 yards, too close for mistakes. Caleb didn't blink, didn't shift his stance, rifle steady, breath controlled. He wasn't aiming at the man speaking. He was aiming at the one who hadn't. The quiet ones were always the problem. "Last chance," the lead man said. "Set it down." Caleb didn't answer. He moved. 1 step left, just enough to break their angle. The shot came a heartbeat later, loud, sharp, tearing the silence open. The man on the right dropped first. Not clean, but enough. The second shot cracked past Caleb's shoulder, close enough to feel. Ice splintered near his boots. "Down!" he snapped. Lynn moved instantly. Not panic, reaction. She dropped low, sliding behind a jagged edge of rock barely wide enough to matter. Barely. Caleb shifted again, didn't hold position, didn't trade shots. Closed distance. That caught them off guard. Men like that expected retreat, not advance. He fired again, forcing the second man back a step. Just 1. That was enough. The third man, the quiet one, didn't fall back. He moved sideways, flanking. Caleb saw it, too late to stop it clean. "Left!" Lynn called, voice sharp, precise, not fear. warning. Caleb turned, the shot already coming. He twisted just enough, the bullet tearing past his coat instead of through him. He dropped to one knee, fired from low, closer now, too close. The quiet man stumbled, caught in the shoulder, not down, but breaking. The lead man swore, stepped back, calculating again. This wasn't going the way it should have. Not fast, not easy. That hesitation, that single second, shifted everything. Lynn moved, not toward safety, toward the dropped pack near Caleb's side. Her hand found it, pulled, papers inside, secured. The lead man saw it. Everything changed in his eyes. "Take her!" he barked. He didn't care about Caleb anymore. Not really. He cared about what she carried. He rushed forward, fast, reckless now. Caleb stepped into him, not backing away, not giving space. They collided hard, snow and ice breaking under their weight. The rifle knocked sideways, useless for a second, maybe more. It wasn't clean, wasn't controlled. It was close. Hands, force, balance. The kind of fight that ended one way or the other, fast. The man reached for his sidearm. Caleb caught his wrist, twisted. The shot went wide into the ice. Caleb drove him down, hard, didn't hesitate, didn't leave it unfinished. He ended it. Silence came back slower this time, broken, uneven. The third man, the one who'd taken the shoulder, was already backing off, bleeding, not staying, not worth it anymore. He looked once at Lynn, at the papers, then at Caleb, and made the only choice left. He ran. Gone, just like that. Caleb stayed where he was a second longer, breathing steady, controlled, making sure it was over, making sure no one got back up. Then he stood, turned. Lynn was still behind the rock, but not hiding, watching, present. "You hit?" she asked. Caleb shook his head. "Close." He glanced at her hands, still holding the papers, tight, like before, like the first time he saw her. "They weren't trying to kill me," she said. Caleb looked at her. "No. They were trying to take that." She nodded once. "Which means more are coming," he added. "Yes. And they won't stop at 3 next time." Silence again. Not empty. Deciding. Caleb looked down the creek, then up toward the ridge beyond. Route narrowing. Time shrinking. "We keep moving," he said. "Now." Lynn didn't argue, didn't question. She stepped out from cover, moved beside him, closer than before. Not following anymore. They moved east again, faster now, no hesitation, no wasted motion. Because whatever this had started as, it wasn't just survival anymore. It was pursuit. And they were already behind. They reached the ranger post just before dark, not because the distance was short, because they didn't slow down. The structure stood where Caleb remembered it, half buried against a rise of rock, timber walls weathered gray, a narrow antenna line stretching crooked into the sky. Old, but still standing. Caleb pushed the door open. Inside, cold, but intact. Dust, a metal desk, a radio unit bolted to the wall. Hope, barely, but enough. He moved to the radio immediately, checked the wiring, the battery pack, connections stiff with age. Lynn closed the door behind them, dropped the bar into place. No questions, no wasted time. "Will it work?" she asked. Caleb didn't answer. Not yet. He turned the dial, static. Adjusted again, nothing. One more. A faint signal. Weak, broken, but there. Caleb leaned in. "Ridge Station, this is Silver Pass Relay. Respond." Static answered. Then, a voice, distant. Repeat. Signal weak. Identify. Caleb glanced at Lynn once, then back to the radio. Name's Caleb Rourke. I have a witness, Lynn Dow. Freight records. Illegal routes tied to Elias Varn. Silence. Then, copy that. Hold position. Dispatching from East Post. 2 days. 2 days. Caleb exhaled slowly. That was both good news and not enough. They'll come before that, Lynn said quietly. Yes. How many? Caleb looked toward the window, the fading light, the ridge beyond. Enough. Night settled fast, colder than before, still, too still. They prepared without speaking, door reinforced, windows covered, rifle loaded, checked twice. Lynn placed the papers inside a metal drawer beneath the desk, closed it, locked it. Not hiding them, anchoring them. Why didn't you leave them? Caleb asked. She didn't turn. Because they matter. He studied her. You matter more. That made her pause, just slightly. Enough. They chose the mountain to finish it, she said. They thought it would be quiet. It almost was. Caleb nodded once. Not anymore. The first sound came just after midnight. Not footsteps, not voices. Horses, more than before. Caleb moved to the window, didn't open it, just listened, counting. 1, 2, 3, more. They came prepared this time, he said. Lynn stepped beside him. Close enough now. No space left between them. How long? She asked. Caleb checked the rifle. Until they decide it's not worth it. And if they don't? He looked at her. Then we make it that way. Outside, voices. Clear now. Men spreading out, positioning. The door shook once. Not forced, tested. Then a voice. Low, controlled. Last chance, it called. Hand her over. Walk away. Caleb didn't answer, didn't move. He stepped forward instead, positioned himself in front of the door. Lynn didn't stay behind him. She moved up beside him, equal. You don't have to do this, she said quietly. Not fear, truth. Caleb looked straight ahead. I know. You can still walk away. That word again. Walk away. He thought about it. Not long. Just enough to know. No, he said. I can't. Outside, the men shifted. Decision made. The first strike hit the door. Hard. Wood cracking under force. Caleb didn't step back. Didn't brace. He waited. The second hit, louder, splinters breaking loose. Then, gunfire. The window shattered inward, glass and cold flooding the room. Everything moved at once. Shots fired, shadows crossing light, sound breaking the silence wide open. Caleb held the line, didn't give ground, didn't fall back. Every shot measured, every movement controlled. Not surviving, standing. Beside him, Lynn moved too, not hiding, not retreating, fighting. Time blurred, minutes, maybe less, maybe more. Then silence, not clean, but enough. No more movement outside, no more voices, just wind, low again across the ridge. Caleb lowered the rifle slowly, turned. Lynn stood beside him, breathing steady, still holding. Still there. They're done, he said. Yes. For now. Morning came cold and clear, tracks scattered across the snow, but none coming closer, none staying. They had made their choice. 2 days later, riders came from the east, badges, authority. Elias Varn's name spoken out loud for the first time without hesitation. The papers taken, the truth carried forward. By the time the mountain settled again, everything had changed, quietly, without announcement. Caleb stood outside the shack days later, watching the past the way he always had. Same place, same sky, not the same man. Behind him, the door opened, soft. Lynn stepped out. No hesitation now, no distance, just presence. You could still go back, he said, not turning. To town, to something easier. Lynn looked out across the pass, then at him. I didn't come this far for easier. That answer stayed between them, simple, true. Caleb nodded once. That was enough. The wind moved through the pines again, different now, not warning, something closer to quiet. And for the first time, this place at the edge of everything, it felt like somewhere worth staying.